The first time she said that, I laughed, mostly to hide how hard my heart hit the inside of my chest. She was standing by the window, barefoot, one hand around a chipped mug, watching me roll pale gray over her living room wall. Sunlight hit the side of her neck, and the dust in the air looked like it was trying to touch her. It looks better with you in it, she said again, softer this time, as if she hadn't meant to let the words out. The roller slipped from my hand and thudded against the tarp. I didn't answer because what was I supposed to say to that? She was my mother's friend, or used to be. They'd worked together years ago, and when she called asking if I could help repaint her place, I told myself it was just work, just paint, just a Saturday. But standing there, her hair loosely tied back, an old shirt hanging off one shoulder, skin brushed with paint dust, it didn't feel like just anything. Her name was Lena, 45, maybe 46. She moved like she was always thinking two things at once. I never knew what they were. The room smelled of wet paint and coffee. A slow song played from her phone, low enough to feel more than hear. She handed me a smaller brush. Edges need someone careful, she said. I crouched beside her to work near the baseboard. Our shoulders almost touched. Almost. She smelled like something citrusy, like she'd used expensive soap but didn't care enough to say what kind. When she leaned forward to steady herself, her elbow brushed mine. A small contact, accidental maybe, but it stayed longer than it should have. Neither of us mentioned it. Do you always help strangers paint their houses? I asked, not looking up. She smiled, that kind of half smile that doesn't reach the eyes but still pulls you in. You're not a stranger, she said. She stopped. I looked up, waiting for her to finish. Her lips parted slightly, but the rest of the sentence never came. I dipped my brush back into the paint just to have something to do with my hands. The silence between us wasn't awkward exactly. It was aware, the kind that makes you notice the rhythm of your breathing. The way time seems to slow when someone's too close. She watched me for a moment. I could feel it, the weight of her gaze, the kind that presses against the skin before you even turn to meet it. You take it seriously, she said finally, her voice low, almost teasing. Painting. Maybe I just don't like making a mess, I said. Her eyes flicked down to my hands. Paint streaked across my knuckles, and then back up to my face. You already have. A laugh caught in my throat. I wasn't sure if she meant the room or something else. She took a step back, folded her arms, and studied the wall like a critic. Then her eyes shifted to me again. You missed a spot, she said. I turned to look, and that's when her phone rang. The sound cut through everything. She didn't move to answer it. For a second, neither did I. The air tightened between us, thick and still, and then she took a slow breath, glanced at the screen, and turned it face down on the counter. When she looked back at me, the sunlight had changed, and so had her expression. Keep painting, she said quietly, but her voice wasn't steady, and I couldn't tell if she meant the wall or US.by the second day. I started telling myself I came back for the paint job, not for her. But she opened the door wearing the same loose gray shirt, sleeves rolled, hair damp from a shower, and that excuse dissolved before I even stepped inside. The house smelled like rain and something sweet she'd baked earlier. A record played softly from the living room, the same one as before. Coffee? She asked, already pouring. Sure, I said, and she handed me a mug without meeting my eyes. Her fingers brushed mine just once, but it was enough to make the air feel too thin. We painted in silence for a while. The walls were nearly finished now, soft gray turning the room calm, almost lonely. You live here alone? I asked, careful with the question. She didn't answer right away. For a while now, she said finally. Divorced. My son's in college. She said it like a fact, not a confession. Still, something in her voice caught. A quick tremor she tried to swallow. I nodded, pretending to focus on the trim. What about you? She asked. Student. Mostly. I do small jobs like this to stay busy. To stay busy? She repeated, as if testing the words. Or to stay distracted? I looked at her. Maybe both. Her mouth curved into a small, knowing smile, and for a moment, Neither of us looked away. By afternoon, paint flecks covered her wrist. I reached out without thinking and brushed a streak of gray from her skin. She froze. My thumb hovered just above her pulse, and I could feel it quick, unsteady. Her eyes lifted to mine, wide, searching. Then she stepped back, clearing her throat. We should open a window. Fumes. But her hands trembled when she unlatched it. We took a break after that. She sat on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, watching the rain through the open window. You don't talk much, she said. I do, I replied, sitting across from her. Just not when it matters. That made her laugh, quiet and low. You sound older than you are. You sound younger, I said before I could stop myself. Her gaze flicked toward me. Surprised, soft, then guarded again. That's dangerous to say. Why? She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned forward to set her mug down, close enough that her shoulder grazed mine. The faint scent of paint and her perfume mixed together. Sharp, warm, distracting. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere far off. She spoke again, almost a whisper. People talk, you know. They see things, even when there's nothing to see. Maybe they'd be right, I said. Her breath caught. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd say something, or maybe reach for me. But she didn't. She just looked at me like she was memorizing something she knew she shouldn't. Then she stood, slow and deliberate. We should finish the wall. As she passed, her hand brushed my shoulder, light, fleeting. But it lingered in my skin long after she'd moved away. The room felt smaller, quieter, and for the first time I realized I didn't care if the paint ever dried. By the third day, the walls were done. But I kept showing up anyway, carrying paint supplies I didn't need, pretending to check for missed spots. She didn't ask why. She just let me in. The house felt different now, warmer, messier, lived in. Her mug still sat on the counter, lipstick faint along the rim. My jacket was still draped over the chair from yesterday. We both knew what it looked like. I think it's perfect, I said, running my hand along the smooth gray surface. She stood beside me, close enough that I could feel the soft brush of her sleeve. Perfect's overrated, she murmured. Besides, her voice faltered. Things never stay that way for long. I turned toward her. She didn't step back this time. Her eyes held mine, steady but uncertain, as if waiting for me to do something she wasn't ready to stop. And then her phone rang. Again. She turned quickly, fumbling for it on the counter. The screen lit up with a name, Anna, Mom. Before she flipped it face down, same as before. Your mother, I asked quietly. She nodded, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She worries too much. The pause after that hung heavy. You should answer, I said. She looked at me for a long second. Not right now. The silence after that felt louder than the rain outside. She exhaled, moved toward the table and reached for a rag. Her hand brushed mine again. This time, she didn't pull away. Her fingers lingered just enough to make my pulse jump. When she finally let go, she said softly, You make it hard to think straight. I almost laughed, but the sound caught somewhere in my throat. Maybe that's fair. You do the same. Something in her expression shifted, part smile, part warning. She stepped closer, until I could feel the warmth of her breath. You don't know what you're saying, she whispered. Maybe not, I said. But I know what I'm feeling. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then away again. The air between us tightened, all noise swallowed by the quiet. Her hand rose slightly, not touching, just hovering near my chest, as if she were about to test something fragile. And then a sharp knock on the door. She jerked back like she'd been caught. Lena? A voice called from outside. A man's voice. Hey, it's Tom. You left your folder at the studio. Her breath quickened. It's fine, she mouthed. Stay quiet. I stepped back, heart pounding, as she opened the door just enough to take the folder. Thanks, she said, voice steady. Tom lingered. You okay? You look flustered. I'm fine, she replied too fast. After he left, she closed the door and leaned against it, eyes shut, breathing slow. When she opened them again, I was still there, watching her, unsure whether to move or stay frozen in the middle of the room. She looked at me then, really looked. "We can't do this," she whispered. "I know," I said. Neither of us moved. But when she walked past me, her shoulder brushed mine. Slow, deliberate, and she didn't say anything else. The space between us was smaller than ever. And somehow that felt like the most dangerous place to be. It happened later than it should have. The rain had stopped, but thunder still grumbled in the distance. The room was dim, shadows soft against the fresh gray walls. We weren't painting anymore. We hadn't been for hours. She was sitting on the floor, back against the wall, glass of wine in her hand. I sat across from her, knees almost touching. Between us, the drop cloth was still spread, splattered with the evidence of 3 long days. "I shouldn't have called you again," she said finally, staring into her glass. "You didn't," I said. "I just showed up." That made her look up, eyes tired, softer than I'd ever seen them. That might be worse. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Just the hum of rain gutters outside, the creak of the old house breathing. Then she said, quietly, "You remind me of when things still felt possible." Her voice cracked near the end. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "You say that like it isn't anymore." She gave a small, uneven laugh. "It's not like this." She gestured vaguely between us, the space that wasn't really space anymore. Something in me snapped then. Maybe it was the way her hair fell over one eye, or the sound of her breath when she sighed. I didn't think. I just reached out, brushed a strand back behind her ear. Her eyes closed. "Don't," she whispered, but she didn't move. Her skin was warm under my fingertips, a faint tremor beneath it. When she opened her eyes again, they weren't steady anymore. "You're too young," she said. "Then tell me to leave," I said back. She didn't. Her hand came up, slow, uncertain, and touched the side of my face. Her thumb traced the line of my jaw, like she was memorizing it for when she couldn't anymore. "I don't want to hurt you," she said. "You won't." Her breath caught. "That's not how it works." She leaned forward just a little, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her against me, smell the faint trace of paint still clinging to her skin. I could have closed the distance right then. I wanted to. Every muscle in my body leaned toward her. "I think about you," I said, the words spilling before I could stop them. "When I'm not here, when I should be doing anything else." Her lips parted, not to speak, but to breathe. "Don't," she whispered again, but her voice broke on the word. "I can't help it." The confession hung between us like static, charged and dangerous. She leaned in closer, her forehead brushing mine. A small, trembling contact that made my whole body go still. Then her phone buzzed again. We both froze. The sound was sharp, jarring, dragging the moment back into reality. Her eyes stayed on mine, wide, conflicted. Neither of us moved to answer it. "Lena?" I started, but she cut me off, her voice low, breathless. "Don't say my name right now." Her hand still rested against my cheek. Her lips hovered a breath away, and just before the kiss could happen, she stood up, fast, as if she'd suddenly remembered something that could ruin her. "I need a minute," she said, backing toward the kitchen. The distance between us returned like cold air rushing in. But the look she gave me before she turned away, that wasn't distance at all. She didn't come back right away. I sat there on the floor, listening to the rain start again, faint against the glass. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the house. Her wine glass still sat where she dropped it, a red stain slowly soaking into the drop cloth. When she finally returned, she looked different. Not angry, not calm, just decided. "I need to tell you something," she said. The way she said it made my chest tighten. She didn't sit down this time. She stood by the window, arms crossed, as if distance could soften what was coming. "My son," she started, voice careful. "He knows who you are." That took a second to sink in. "I what?" She turned toward me. "You were in one of his classes." He mentioned you once. Said you were the kid who stayed late to help him with a project. I didn't realize until I saw the name on your texts last night. I froze. You read my messages? I had to, she said quickly, guilt flickering behind her eyes. You kept showing up. I needed to understand why. The words hit like cold water. So you knew, I said, standing up. All this time. No, she cut in, shaking her head. I didn't plan this. I just didn't stop it. She moved closer, as if drawn by some force she hated. I told myself it was harmless, that you were just helping. But you knew it wasn't, I said. She flinched. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. No, I didn't. Then softer. Not until it was too late. The space between us buzzed with something electric. Anger, confusion, and the same pull that never seemed to go away. I stepped closer. So that's why you've been pulling away? Because of him. Her eyes met mine, glassy now. Because of everything. Because this isn't fair to you. I laughed. Short. Bitter. You keep deciding what's fair like you're not part of it. She opened her mouth to speak, then stopped, hands trembling as she rubbed at her temple. I don't know how to make this right. Then stop trying, I said quietly. She looked up sharply, breath catching. What do you mean? I took another step forward, until the hem of her shirt brushed my chest. Stop pretending it's wrong to feel something. Her hand rose halfway, maybe to stop me, maybe to steady herself, and landed on my chest. Her fingers curled, barely gripping the fabric. Her voice trembled. You don't understand what this could do. Then explain it, I said, my voice low, close, because I can't keep pretending either. She stared at me, eyes flicking from my mouth to my eyes and back again. You're too much like him, she said suddenly. Like who? My ex-husband. The words came out like a confession, shaking. Same way you look when you want something but don't know how to ask for it. She stepped back, trying to breathe. That's why I can't. I caught her wrist before she could finish. Maybe that's why you can, I said. She went still. The rain outside grew louder. Her pulse jumped beneath my fingers. And in the silence that followed, something in her eyes gave in. Just a little, just enough. When I let go, she didn't move. Come tomorrow, she said finally, voice unsteady. If you still want to. It wasn't a command. It was a test. And I already knew my answer. The next day, I almost didn't go. I walked twice past her street, paint-stained hands shoved in my jacket pockets, trying to talk myself out of it. But by the time I realized, I was standing at her door again. When she opened it, she didn't look surprised. Just tired. Like she'd spent the night wrestling the same decision. Come in, she said softly. The house was quiet, no music this time, no coffee brewing. Just the faint hum of the rain gutters again. The room we'd painted looked lighter now, almost silver in the morning light. I set the brush down on the table. I wasn't here for that anymore. She stood near the window, one hand gripping the curtain. You shouldn't have come, she said. You asked me to, I said. I didn't think you would. Then why ask? Her lips pressed together. Because I wanted to see if you would. I took a slow step toward her. And now that I have? She didn't move away. Now I have to make a choice. The distance between us felt like something alive, breathing, trembling. I said quietly, so do I. Her shoulders sank, the fight in her dissolving into something softer. You think this is simple, she said. It's not. I never said it was, I replied. But it's real. She looked up then, eyes shining. That's what scares me. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then I reached out, slow, giving her time to stop me, and brushed my fingers against her wrist. She didn't pull away. Her pulse raced beneath my touch. I keep telling myself to stay away, she said, voice breaking. That you'll hate me for this one day. I won't. You will, she whispered. When it costs you something. I shook my head. It already does. She laughed then, quiet, unsteady, and stepped closer. The hem of her shirt brushed my arm. I could feel her breath when she spoke. I don't know how to be careful with this, she said. Then don't be. Her eyes closed. You make it sound so easy. It's not, I said. But I'd rather make a mistake with you than live like it never happened. Her breath caught, and then she leaned forward, slow enough that I could have stopped her. But I didn't. Our foreheads touched, just barely. The world outside disappeared. Her voice was a whisper. This isn't fair. Maybe not, I said. But it's honest. She lifted her hand to my cheek again, same as before. But this time there was no hesitation. Her thumb traced my jaw, my breath, the space between words. Say it, she whispered. I met her eyes. I don't want to leave. The smallest smile crossed her face, sad, knowing. Then don't. When we finally closed the distance, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't planned. It was human, raw, quiet, trembling, like two people finally letting go of every excuse. And in that moment, neither of us were hiding anymore. The morning after, the house felt different, quieter, but not empty. The gray walls glowed faintly in the soft light, the kind of light that makes everything look like a memory before it even ends. Lena sat at the table, hair loose, coffee mug cradled in both hands. She looked up when I came in, a small smile flickering across her face. Uncertain but real. For the first time since I'd met her, she didn't try to fill the silence. She just let it sit there, calm and breathing between us. I thought you might not stay, she said finally. I almost didn't, I admitted. Why didn't you go? I shrugged, sitting across from her. Didn't feel finished. Her smile widened, soft and tired. It never does. We both laughed. Not loudly, not perfectly in sync, but enough to feel something settle. Outside, the rain had stopped for good. The air smelled clean, the kind of after-storm quiet that makes you think maybe the world decided to start over. She reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. Her hand was warm, steady this time, not trembling. I keep thinking I should apologize, she said, for letting it get this far. You don't owe me that. I do, she said softly. You're young. You have time to forget. I shook my head. I don't want to forget. Not if it means forgetting you. She blinked, and for a second I saw the emotion she always tried to hide. Not regret this time, but something closer to peace. I was scared of what this meant, she said after a long pause. Of what people might say. Of the years between us. I was scared too, I said. That you'd change your mind. That I'd never see you again. She tilted her head, studying me like she was seeing something new. And now I'm just here, I said. With you. The clock ticked somewhere in the background. The day stretched quiet and slow. She stood up, walked around the table and stopped beside me. Her hand rested on my shoulder. You made this place beautiful, she said. I looked up at her. You did most of that yourself. Her eyes softened. No. You brought light into it. For a moment, we just looked at each other. No tension left to hide behind. No excuses to make. Then she leaned down and pressed a kiss to my forehead, her hand sliding down to rest against my cheek. Whatever happens next, she whispered, you'll be okay. So will you, I said. We didn't talk about forever. We didn't have to. We just stood there, close enough that breathing felt shared. Her hand still holding mine, paint still faint on both our wrists. The silence was warm now, full of understanding instead of restraint. The wall behind us, the one we painted together, gleamed in the light. It looked complete. So did we. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?